This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, and welcome once again to The Clash, where we take a Christian worldview and allow it to clash with the culture that we live in. And when we're done, we hope that we create something that will encourage you, strengthen you, stretch you, motivate you, and in this particular case, introduce you to someone and give you an opportunity to listen to someone that might just change your perspective a little bit and help you to see the world just a little bit clearer. I'm joined by the one and the only saint himself, Chris Whaley. Chris, welcome to the party today. What are we doing today?
Man, it is an unbelievable time. You know, I tell people every day is a holiday, every meal's a feast. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I feel today because, you know, we get to do part 2 of our interview with America's Sheriff, Grady Judd. Now, that first part of this interview was just awesome. Did you think?
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah. And if you are not aware, there is a sheriff here in Florida, in Polk County, Florida. He's been on the news several times. He just doesn't take any, lip from liberal people, and he tells it like it is. He is an unbelievable Christian. He's an unbelievable sheriff. He's a dad. He's a grandfather. He's a friend. And you're going to enjoy this time with America's Sheriff, Grady Judd. This is part 2.
Chris, I was just thinking while we take a break here in the show,
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could go somewhere and shop and get high quality merchandise that would have a lasting impact? Wouldn't that be good?
I think that would be absolutely awesome.
Well, I've got a suggestion for you because what is your favorite saying?
Don't tap out.
Look at that. How about a Don't Tap
Holy
Out
smokes,
t-shirt? And
don't
look at the
tap
logo
out.
on the back.
What's on the back? The Clash.
The Clash. That's one of my favorite shows.
You know, it's on my top list too.
And people could go and buy this from our store. Now you say, how do you get to the store? Well, right now there's a QR code on the screen. If they use that QR code, they can go and they can buy, name something. We'll see if they can buy it there. What do we want? What to buy?
Probably, I want to get a long sleeve hoodie.
You know what? You can get a long sleeve hoodie there.
Really?
Yeah, and you know what else? If
What?
you had a baby tomorrow, you could get Clash baby gear at that same
Onesies?
store. Yep, you can get that. All this available at the Clash store. So if you haven't been to the Clash store, you're one of the few people in America that hasn't been there yet.
Yeah.
And so check it out. Buy our stuff. It makes us money. It makes us happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the Clash store.
Hey, I want to ask you about your journey of faith. But also in that journey of faith, and I know that you're a dedicated, born again, blood-bought child of God. But after letting us know about your journey of faith, I want to go ahead and stick this in there. I know you've caught some heat from media about the fact that you speak in churches on Sunday, and you usually have your uniform, or you always have your uniform on because you're 24/7. You take a little heat for that. So if you wanted to say something about that too, but I know our audience would really love to hear about your journey of faith.
Sure. I was raised in a Christian home with Christian parents and Christian grandmother. My grandfather was a Christian, but he died when I was only 20 months old. And my other grandfather, who was a strong Christian, passed when my dad was 16. But both my parents also came from a Christian home. So I was just raised that way. And I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior when I was 9 years old. Now, a lot of folks, then made a rededication when they were in their teens or maybe early 20s because they weren't sure. Well, did they really understand at 9 years old? Well, there was no doubt in my mind then, and there's no doubt in my mind now that I am a Christian, that Jesus forgave my sins and forgives my sins and accepted me because I understand that and believe that I'm on a mission field. I can't explain what I call this different kind of life. So the reality is this is my norm. Now, can we be a tough cops? Yeah, we can. That's that's not our proclivity. Our proclivity is in this business is to be your best friend. But if you force us, we can bare our teeth if we have to in order to enforce the law and protect the community. So that's kind of where that originated from, and that's how I've lived my life as a Christian. And I must tell you that my grandmother, we were Southern Baptists. My grandmother said, it's very important for you to make sure that when you get married, you marry a Christian. And then,
Mhm.
second of all, preferably a Southern Baptist, because when you get married, there's you've got to learn to live together, and that's not particularly easy. So, I went looking around for a Christian Southern Baptist girl, and my first date, I was really mesmerized by Marissa, but I asked her, I said, "Are you a Christian?" She said, "Yes." I, I said, "Well, where do you go to church?" She said, "First Baptist Church in Auburndale." And I thought, I got it. I found it. So that's how all that happened. So what was the other question you were going to ask me? I got to
It was
rattle.
about speaking in churches and wearing your uniform, catching heat from the media on that.
Oh, well, I don't consider that hate. I just consider that interest in my lifestyle. When I ran for office as sheriff, of course, God and Jesus already knows the future. But my prayer, and I wanted to be the sheriff really bad from the time I was a child. My prayer, though, was not to win the election, it was to fulfill God's will. And God already knew I wanted to be the sheriff. So but my pledge at that time was I will never be afraid to speak about God and Jesus publicly. Never.
Mhm.
In fact, I'll do that. Well, of course, as the sheriff, I had different churches call me and want me to come speak in their church. And I love that. I love the opportunity to do that. So I do. And of course, we were streaming a video one day and we get a call or we get an email. They tried to bushwhack me with the media. After the office hours close, the freedom from, let's see, what did they call it? Freedom from Religion group out of Wisconsin
Mm.
sent an email slamming me for speaking in a church wearing a uniform. They said in that letter that if I wanted to speak, that I had to wear plain clothes and that I could not refer, nor could the preacher refer to me as sheriff. He had to refer to me as Mr. Judd. And they could not write that this is Sheriff Judd in their bulletin or their programs. They would have to write Mr. Judd and all this kind of crazy nonsense.
Mm.
Well, when they sent it to the media, they sent it after business hours, as I said, because their intention was they got the first shot in. Well, little did they know that all the reporters, television, newspaper at the time, all had my cell phone number. So they called me up and I slayed them immediately. And I said, first and foremost, I am a Christian. Second of all, I will speak in any house of worship. Third, they call the office of the sheriff for their elected sheriff to come speak with them. Certainly, they expect me to wear my work clothes, and I'm going to speak. So, anyway, the next day I called a press conference because I was enjoying this. And I basically said all of that for the media. And then they started, okay, that's fine, Sheriff. And I said, whoa, where are y'all going? And I handed them my calendar of the churches I was speaking at over the next few weeks. I said, I want y'all to come join me and run some more of this because I love it. And those folks can sue if they want to sue. I don't care if they sue. If they haven't looked lately, their lawyers should recognize the First Amendment. I've got a First Amendment right as an individual. And certainly I was elected by the people to stand up and speak. And the people that invited me expect me to show up there. So anyway, for the next few weeks, I was able to even get more airtime and more airtime. And when some said, oh, they gave the sheriff a little heat, well, that might have been their intent, but I blistered their butt, is what
Yes,
I
you did.
enjoyed it, and I told everybody that. And I got this huge support from all around the nation and the world about go get them, sheriff. You don't let them go. If they sue you, of course, they never sued.
Yeah.
But what they were used to, they're used to the traditional local government being absolutely terrorized of this big group, and government usually just cow down and they go limp wristed and limp spined and limp legs and oh my gosh, please don't promise. Wait a minute. What is wrong with you? They expect government to stand up and be strong and do what's right. And of course, we were never sued because there was no reason for us to sue us.
Right.
And they obviously, most people don't understand the concept of, government and our state and religion. Well, all you got to do is read the Constitution. You can pretty well see where the separation is there. So at the end of the day, I told them this.
I love it. I love
Go
it.
ahead.
Well, Sheriff, we're in an era where, obviously, culture continues to change. We call the show The Clash because we're taking our Christian worldview and letting it kind of clash into the culture. What do you see on the horizon as changes for you and law enforcement and kind of where our culture seems to be going? What do you see as the difficulties are on the horizon for us?
Well, generations are always going to change. My parents' generation wasn't my generation. My grandparents' generation wasn't my parents' generation. But I believe as long as God-fearing people in their houses of worship stay strong, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Different things are going to happen. There's going to be idiosyncrasies that pop up that we disagree with. But if we successfully allow evil people to quiet the Christians, the Jews, the people of the different houses of faith, if we ever allow our faith to be put on a shelf, then guess what? The evil non-believers that want to create communist, socialist communities will prevail. I just don't believe that's going to occur. The overwhelming majority of people, when they survey, believe in God. The problem is they aren't bold and don't stand up to those that are trying to separate us from our God. And that's what we have got to sell across this state, across this nation, and around the world. God-fearing people of religious belief are strong. We need to remain strong. We need to always do what's right and respect everybody, but we cannot ever get in a position to shut up and sit down just because somebody runs their mouth a little bit and threatens. And if we fail to stand up and speak out for what's right, then we'll end up a communist or a socialist nation where the state's in control and the individuals aren't in control. So that would be my message to the overwhelming majority of the people in this country. You're people of faith. You believe in God. You better stand up for it, because what you don't use, you lose.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. Jeff, we got some dead air time. What are you doing?
Chris, I'm looking at the Church at 434 app. It's an incredible app. It's absolutely free. And you can watch us, you can watch video, you can get resources for your walk and your journey of faith, and it's absolutely free. Just go to the Church at 434 and your app store, Google Play, and just download it and join us online all the time.
I've been watching TV, news, and I'm a strong supporter of our president, a strong supporter of our governor. And I look on the news and I see these law enforcement people trying to do their job and people throwing rocks at them, uh, people, throwing all kinds of things at those officers' cars as they're leaving. Uh, I know nothing like that would ever happen in Polk County, but how do we get to the point where we allow things like that to happen in our nation, where they're attacking law enforcement and doing absolutely nothing about it?
Chris, it's all about who you elect. I can assure you that the law enforcement officers in California and New York are just as dedicated to protect people as we are in Florida, but their leadership won't allow that. Okay. They've elected leaders who are socialist leaning, who are woke, who think more of criminals than they think of law abiding citizens. And that's why that occurs. You don't see that in Florida because if they start that nonsense here, we bring people in, we take them to jail. If we have to whip their butt to get them in jail, we'll do that too. But that's their choice, not ours. But we are not putting up with that here, period. And they allow it and many times enable it in states like California and New York because they make their police officers stand down. I can assure you, I can assure you that our response would be totally different in the state of Florida should that kind of conduct show itself.
Yeah. Sheriff, for our audiences out there, what would you like for them to know about how to best support you and any law enforcement officer out there? Because again, what you do is tough, and you're going to be in the headlines if something goes horribly south, and there's always someone out there that's quick to criticize. What would you say to folks and say, if you guys just understood this or knew this about what we're doing, it might change the way you view things?
If you just are skeptical or don't understand, go to a police agency and ask to ride with a police officer or a deputy. Most every police agency I know allows ride-alongs. And when you get in the front seat of that car and you see what they have to deal with and put up with, I truly believe that your attitude will change. But there are those that say, oh my gosh, crime's going up. The police need to get busy. Look, the police are only one facet. The rule makers, the people you elect as your governor, into your House of Representatives, your Senate, the people you elect as mayors and city commissioners and county commissioners, they set the rules for what the law enforcement officers do or don't do. So when California makes a rule that you can't arrest a misdemeanor, then people know if you commit misdemeanors to the cows come home, you're never going to jail. And they're not stupid. These criminals may be criminals, but they're not all stupid. So they push the limits to the border. And so it's your rule makers that determine whether or not you're going to be safe in your home tonight. Because the California police officers, just like the Florida police officers, will protect you and keep you safe if you give them the tools. If your crime's up, it's the decision makers that won't add prison beds, that won't change the rules so that people have to post a bond. So if criminals don't, that even go to jail, like New York, if they're immediately released, there's no accountability, there's no responsibility, then criminals do what they want to do. But when you have a 53-year low crime rate in Polk County, when you have a huge decrease in crime in the state of Florida, it's because of our rules, our rule maker, the people we elect to public office, and those support law enforcement. And it's no mistake. It's a leadership issue. And that's what most people don't understand. And I'll tell you straight up, you look at the lack of leadership in California and New York, and the lack of leadership in Chicago and Detroit and Portland, Oregon, And those massive cities that, look to see who you've elected and put in public office. And you'll see exactly why the craziness goes on there. Because you elect crazy, woke, left socialist people who think more of criminals than they do law abiding citizens. The criminals are going to proliferate, and the law abiding citizens are going to either hide in home or move.
All right. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I just want you to know, I mean, we are huge fans, but we also are very supportive of what you do. From our role as pastors and working with folks, again, you speak with churches all the time. How can we best pray for you? How can our audience best pray for you and support you and your officers?
Well, that's prayer is very impactful to us. Pray for a hedge of protection around us so that we can make the right decisions at the right time for the right reasons. You take these young men and women in law enforcement, we're putting deputies out there at 19, 21, 22 years of age. Chris, for you and I at our age, they're kids. We've got grandchildren as old as these young deputies. We're giving them great training, and then we're putting them in the most stressful job they can have other than being on the front line in a war across this world someplace else. And we've got to support them. We've got to make sure they have the right training, the right infrastructure, the right psychological support. We've got to make sure that the community cares for them, and the overwhelming majority of the community does care for them. But if you pray for them, that they will be cared for by our Savior, that they will make the right decisions at the right time for the right reasons, and pray for the community to wrap their arms around the law enforcement officers. When that hate on the cops got started, and that's been 5 or 6 years ago when it peaked, we didn't experience any of that here. You watched it on the evening news and you heard all that nonsense. Just the opposite was occurring here. A deputy or a police officer in a uniform couldn't even buy their lunch because somebody picked the bill up. Or they put signs in our district stations or in front of the police stations saying, we support the sheriff or the police officers. They would bring food to us. So the reality of it is we enjoy the overwhelming support of the community. But it's important for the police agency to understand they need to reciprocate and make sure that the community knows that we appreciate them too, because we can't be successful without the community supporting us. And if the community supports us, and if they elect the right people who care about the community into public office, more so than the crime committing criminals, then you'll have a safe community like we have here.
Sure. Yeah. I've had the great pleasure of being chaplain for, Seminole County Fire Department for 15 years. I'm no longer their chaplain, but I did it for 15 years. And I tell you, it was some of the most amazing years of my life and changing my perspective on a lot of different things. But to see those young men and women go through what they go through of dealing with those wrecks on I-4 and dealing with domestic abuse and babies that were left in cars that in 100-degree heat, and those young men and women running into a house to save people that they don't know. It was just amazing for me to look at their lives and see what they do. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a deputy and, walking up to a car, not knowing what to expect at night, and to be a mother or a father doing that job and leaving every day in that family, with that awesome pit in the pit of their stomach about, am I going to see my dad or my mom again today? Sheriff Judd, I just can't thank you enough for what you do and for the support that you give your officers that serve under you. I've heard a lot of great stuff about how supportive you are to the young men and women who serve under you. And I just thank you so much for all you've done for our community, for our state, for what you do on TV, and you shine that light, and people talk to me when I go to different states, and they talk about you because they saw you on the news. So I just want to say thank you, and I know Jeff feels the same way, and I'll let you finish it up there, Jeff.
Yeah, Sheriff, thank you so much. We will. We'll be praying for you. We're glad you're doing what you're doing. And you know, keep running, stay sheriff, stay forever. You know, you're doing great. And so we love the opportunity we've had to talk with you today as well. So just want to say God bless you and thank you for this chance. And we hope our folks get to know you just a little bit better because we've had the opportunity to chat. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's my honor to be the sheriff and to serve the people. God bless you all. See you soon.
All right. God bless. Hi, Jeff Dixon. You might recognize me from The Clash, but that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to invite you to visit a website. It's touchandchange.net. Touchandchange.net. That is the website for the ministry of the church at 434, where I am the pastor. Chris Whaley is one of our pastors on staff. And so while you're familiar with us, you may not be familiar with some of the resources that we have to offer that we think will help you in your journey of faith. And you can find all sorts of stuff there with brand new programming that's released every night at 7 o'clock. And you can join us for worship live each and every Sunday morning at 9 or 11:15. Or you can watch streaming reruns of those worship services. And you can go back all the way back to when I had dark hair. And so we would love for you to come and join us and be a part of the journey of faith with us at the church at 434 at touchandchange.net. We have been so blessed today to have the opportunity to talk to Sheriff Grady Judd. He really, truly is America's sheriff. And we've had a fantastic time, and I appreciate so much his candor and his just willingness to just share his life with us and with each of you. And just recognize the fact that when you are thinking about law enforcement officers wherever you live, these guys and girls that are out there doing this job are holy warriors. And so encourage them when you get the opportunity, pray for them, support them in what they do. It is a thankless job sometimes and an extremely dangerous job. But when they do it well, our communities are so much safer and so much better. And we have responsibility to help make that happen. Yeah. So Chris, it's been fun.
You know, Jeff, you have those interviews that you just hope don't end. This is one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I just enjoyed it so much. Now, I graduated from high school with Sheriff Judd's wife, Marissa, in 1972 from Auburndale High School. And so that's how I've gotten to know Sheriff Judd. Matter of fact, at our last reunion, my wife and I sat right next to Sheriff Judd and Marissa at our table, and you know, I had that wonderful night of being able to ask him any question that I want. But this one for me was, you know, a high water mark. I just really enjoyed it. I particularly enjoyed, you know, hearing about his journey of faith, and I just love how he doesn't take any lip from anybody, man. I mean, he's not going to put up with that. So I guess it's okay for Christians not to be wishy-washy, isn't it?
I don't think we're called to be doormats.
Yeah, you're not called to be doormats. So anyway, we can't thank you guys enough for joining us in this great time with America's Sheriff, Grady Judd. So you have a great week, and don't tap out.